Okay. So we're going to just really talk about healthy sleep in children. And I think that it's important that everybody understands really what we're looking for in all children in all different stages of life, right? So when we're born to when we're adults. Okay. So sleep is really critical in the development of children, right? Quality of life to me is quality sleep to me is quality life. So that's kind of been my motto for many, many years. And so it's important that we actually understand what the problems of sleep are, and then really what we can do to correct it. Okay, so this is, and I'm going to go through this very quickly, but you know, our biological clock is regulated by the hypothalamus in our brain. And the two things about the hypothalamus is not only does it regulate our circadian rhythm in our brain, but it also regulates the hunger, right? For people is the hypothalamus, and also the temperature. So if you really think about it, sometimes when you see children or even adults that have problems sleeping, many times there is some weight gain there, and it is correlated because the hypothalamus has a lot to do with it. So okay, so our sleep does change over time. So from the time that we're born till the time we're elderly and adults, our sleep patterns definitely changes. So when we're newborns, okay, we actually require more sleep. And then as the kids grow older, the sleeping actually kind of reduces. And then I'm not going to go through, do you want me to go through newborns, Ashwini, at all? Is there anybody that has issues with newborn sleeping?
No, I don't think we have newborns in the group. It's just basically children.
The child, yeah. So toddlers. Is there toddlers?
Toddlers like 2 and over. Yes, we have kids.
Okay. Yeah, this is 1 to 2. So generally within toddlers, normal sleep patterns, right? They have several naps during the day. And then, of course, we should have our bedtime routine, and we want to start to transition them from the crib to the bed eventually, especially when they get to the preschools and when they're starting to go to school. So kids that are infants, we want to make sure that they have regular daytime and bedtime routines and schedules. You want to make sure that their environment is friendly. And then you also want to make sure that you want to get them to become independent as they start to go to school and, start to maintain their schedule. One of the things that I think for parents, and I used to do this for my kids, is that, of course, we have our daily sleep schedule, right? You always want to start, like if it's 7 o'clock is the time for the children, or 8 o'clock, you want to make sure that you regulate that time. And if you have to put an alarm on, then maybe just stick that alarm on your phone and say it's 11. So this time this is going to trigger the kids. And I think it's important for all kids from the time that they're, it's like a conditioning almost, from the time that they're a year old to the time that they're even older, is that you set an alarm either on your phone, maybe in their room, and then maybe you can start with putting some music on, and then let them understand that, yes, this is time to go to sleep. So always keep a schedule, a wake up schedule, a sleep schedule, as well as a wake up schedule. And this is going to be, I'm going to say this for all, okay, we're just talking about toddlers, but school age kids, as well as as they start getting a little older, up until that they're teenagers, because then things do change after that. So one of the things with these children is trying to make sure that they're secure, and they have like sometimes the kids want a blanket and that they want a teddy bear, and it's okay. It's okay to have that. Now this is for the kids in preschool, and we're going to talk about the kids that are in school age 5 to 12. So this to me is really a very, very important time that we have to start getting our kids used to, because how we establish our sleep patterns is what's going to happen as they grow older into teenagers and as adults. And you're going to find that people that have problems with sleeping as adults, when you go back to the root cause, it turns out that they've always had problems throughout their school years and as a toddler when you talk to their parents. So for these children, right, they have so many things going on with school, with activities, and they're going to have some sleep deprivation. So you want to always make sure that during this time, computers, of course, there's a lot of computers, and some of the kids nowadays are starting to get their cell phones. And caffeine, we don't mean coffee, but just look at the food products that you guys are giving the children anytime after 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whether it's chocolate. Just read the ingredients of everything, because caffeine has a lot to do with sleep disturbances at night. And then and I'm going to talk a little bit about this as to really look at medical conditions, because when you're looking at these children, you want to rule out that they do not have any kind of, say, sleep apnea, if they have enlarged tonsils, if they have increased adenoids. If you hear them snoring, I would recommend that you would go and talk to their pediatrician and see if they could maybe refer you to a sleep specialist. So these are some of the things that just be a little bit conscious about. Okay. So we just really briefly want to talk about like the sleep habits, disease and prevention. And one of the things is, I already talked about most of this stuff here, but just watch for signs of chronic difficulty in sleeping. Of course, we said loud snoring, difficulty breathing, unusual wakenings at night, and then frequently daytime sleepiness. So as part, the frequent daytime sleepiness is also going to affect their cognition and their behavior during the day. So when kids have sleep deprivation and they're really not getting the good quality sleep at night, I've seen there's studies out there that it does affect behavior and cognition, and I will give you some examples of that. So these are just the little effects of it. If they're not getting good sleep, if they're getting disturbed, if there is something in their room that they're, I saw a question that says the light in the room is bothering the children. Anything that's going to disturb the sleep, we should always kind of be mindful of it and try to get to and I'm a big proponent of root cause. Like, let's get to the root cause of it first, and then we could find out what the solution is. And then this one is night terrors, and we can talk about that if there's any children that have the night terrors. And snoring, and then sleep apnea. And sleep apnea is really it's an obstruction in the throat. And like I said, if there is sleep apnea, there is decreased oxygenation that goes to the brain. So if it is something, you want to make sure that you talk to your pediatrician and have them refer you or your child to a sleep specialist that specializes in children. Insomnia is just difficulty maintaining sleep. So they are always up, they can't fall asleep. And that's also a big issue. And I don't know if you do observe any of this restless leg syndrome, if you see your child like moving their legs a lot while they're sleeping, in that case, again, talk to the pediatrician and go to a sleep clinic, a sleep doctor, and they would refer you to a sleep clinic. There are two types of sleep diagnostics that we can do. One of them is a home sleep study, in which we would have you take a device home and you put it on the child. It's just a pulse oximeter on the finger, and then a watch, and then just a monitor right here on the chest. That's a very simple one. And then we can rule out sleep apnea. And really that's important. But if they have anything more than that, if you're seeing that they're having maybe some type of other either restless leg, or they're twitching a lot at night, or there's something else going on, at that time maybe we need to have them go to a sleep clinic and then have a comprehensive sleep study for them. So these are just some of the things to really look at. Narcolepsy, we don't really see it so much in children, but that is something that we can evaluate. I'm just going to pass through this. So one of the things that we can also recommend, and we do, is keeping a sleep diary. So a sleep diary, or just a diary, and I'm sure a lot of the parents might already do this, but keep track of what they're eating during the day when they get home from school, and then also just what time they fell asleep, and what time they woke up. And if the kids are old enough, then self-monitoring is also important. So maybe we have the kids do that, and then reward them for actually doing, if they are staying in bed, longer times, that's something that we should be rewarding the kids for. So those are some of the techniques that I would recommend to do. But definitely keep a diary for your children, and this way we can figure out really what's happening and what the cause is. And then, of course, we always say that if the parents are not having good quality sleep, right, and they're either doing other things and they're just not putting the kids to bed at that time, then sometimes it's going to rub off on the children. So it's really important that us as parents also are going to be doing the same thing, and for parents to maybe have a sleep schedule as well. And so the kids actually start to see that this is something that's normal. And then these are just some of the tips that we do, but a lot of them I had gone over. Some of the things is important is also doing some type of a relaxation, 20 minutes to 30 minutes before, meditation, relaxation, and I'm sure that a lot of the parents are already reading a book, but that whatever it's helping the children. I used to put, for my children when they were younger, and we didn't have like cell phones and things like that, but I would sing to them. Some of the Indian bhajans I used to sing to them. I used to put sounds, like different sound of like oceans and water, and that helps. In fact, right now I do it myself. If I can't fall asleep, then I have a sleep pillow that I use, and I continuously listen to those sounds while I'm sleeping, and it actually helps. And then keeping the bedroom quiet, right? So if there's anything in the room that you think is going to make some noise, make sure that the blinds and things, if there's some children that are affected by light, then maybe put dark curtains in their room, and to make sure that it's cool, because we talked about the hypothalamus, and that regulates our temperature. And it also, when we sleep, our body temperature is up and down. A lot of times, if it's very hot in the room, that's going to cause the child to get up if they're feeling sweating and they don't feel good, and that's also going to be a disturbance for them. Again, a light snack, nothing heavy for the children, and then really no television if possible before they go to sleep. Good exercise and nutrition, of course, that's very important. And then with napping, every child is different. And of course, if they're in school and they're into those middle school, up to middle school and high school, and there is not going to be any napping. I think they stopped napping even in like first or second grade, I think, nowadays. But if the child comes home from school and they do feel like they're tired, okay, if they want a 10 to like 15-minute, 20-minute nap, sometimes it's important because it may restore them a little bit, for a little, not an hour nap, no, 10-15-minute nap. Try to have them rest, and it may help them relax a little bit when they get home from school. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing. This was just something very quick, a presentation on that. So some of the other things that I would say is, and I'm going to give you some stories that my own children, although they're adults now. So when my daughter was younger, I want to say up until she was 12 years old, 10 years old, she would come in my room every day at 2:30 in the morning. Every night, I would have to look at the clock and it's 2:30, and I don't know what it was, but it was it, and it's okay. You know, I would just take her and I would just put her back, and I would put her into my bed, and because I had to wake up in the morning and she had to wake up in the morning to go to school. Or sometimes I would just pick her up and put her back into her bed. Sometimes these things, it grows out. I mean, she grew out of it. Eventually she just grew out of it. When I was putting my kids to sleep, from the time that they were young, okay, I always massaged them. Okay. And I'm very holistic. I massaged my kids from the time they were born up until I think they were like, Ma, you don't have to massage me. And that might've been like 10 years, like, I don't know, second grade, third grade. Every single night, my kids, they would get a massage. I would massage their feet, their hands, and then their body. And to this day, when my kids are not feeling good and they can't sleep, I will tell you, my son is 23. He's 23 years old. And he'll just say, Mommy, can you massage me? Yeah, I feel tired. I feel this. And it may be because it helps them fall asleep. Maybe it's just a comfort and it makes them feel good. But touch therapy to me is just so important for any kid, you know, and just to help them, to calm them down. So that was one thing that I did for Jenna, my daughter. One story for my son is when I want to say, I think he was in 3rd or 4th grade. I went to a parent teacher conference, and it was a science teacher on a Tuesday morning. And the science teacher said to me, you know, your son, he's he's the first class that he has, but he says, you know, I don't know. He's always falling asleep. He's like not falling asleep. He's tired and he doesn't have his homework done. And I was like, what is going on? Right. So it was always that Tuesday morning. And I had to figure out why this is happening, why his grades are going down, like he wasn't doing good in that class. So I had to do some investigation. So right after that, I started to monitor him on what's going on during the week. And then on that Monday, so the following Monday, I went in, you know, I thought I put him to sleep. So he went to sleep. And then I woke up to go to see what's really going on. He was watching that whatever wrestling. So I would put him to sleep and he would wake up and he'd start watching the wrestling, WWF wrestling or something like that. And that must have been on till like 12 o'clock, but his TV was so low, I didn't know. Okay, so of course I nipped that in the butt really quick. And I said, you know what? You're not watching TV anymore on this day. You have to sleep, or else I'm taking the TV out. We're going to unplug it. And of course, I had to do that. If I would have not investigated, if I had not gone to the root cause of it, it would have would have gone on till not only Monday night, it would have happened on a Tuesday night, it would have happened on a Wednesday night. It would have just continuously happened. But I think that you just have to monitor your children and see really what's going on. The other thing that this presentation doesn't talk about, because there's a whole whole different presentation just for teenagers, because teenagers, they're a whole different animal in itself, okay? Their circadian rhythm changes. So we talked about the circadian rhythm on with infants, then with toddlers, right? And then preschool, and then the school age kids, okay? So as they start to get into the teenage years, their circadian rhythm changes. And I had a mom one time come to me, and she this was many years ago. She says, there's something wrong with my son. And she's like, I don't know what's going on, but he's always tired and he's not doing good in school. And we're not really sure, you know, he's a bad kid, blah, 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 blah. She thought he was a really bad kid because falling asleep in school. So we had to explain this to her. And I said, well, what's going on, Jewel? We had him do a diary, and we ended up figuring out that he's actually a normal teenager, because the circadian rhythm for kids and as teenagers changes. Believe it or not, that they actually require a lot more sleep than any of the other stages. They actually need more than any kid. And their circadian rhythm changes so that they can't sleep until later on. And then, but the way the school system is, right? The teenagers have to wake up at, like, I remember 5, 6 in the morning, because school starts really early. Whatever, 6:30 or 7 o'clock high school started. So not only are they not falling asleep because they can't fall asleep, it's part of their circadian rhythm as teenagers, right? Their clock. But the schools are demanding so much for them to wake up so early in the morning. So we have to be mindful of our own kids, and then that it is normal for kids, right? If they want to sleep later on a Saturday or a Sunday, you know, monitor your kids. If you think that's going to take them off the pattern, and then come Monday morning, they can't wake up, well, then maybe you have to maintain the same thing on a Saturday or a Sunday. Just keep the same schedule, and then have them maybe do a little nap to catch up. Because when we sleep is when we actually have restorative sleep, right? So in a normal sleep pattern, we sleep 6 to 8 hours. And it's not the quantity of sleep, it's the quality of sleep. So if you're having 6 hours of good quality sleep, then really no problem. But if you're having 8 hours of poor quality sleep, because you're having either sleep apnea, or you're having some type of a sleep disturbance, or maybe there's a newborn in the family and that child is making noise, or the mom or the dad comes home late and starts making stuff up, you know, or the mom is washing dishes, or the dada and daddy or whoever is in the house, and they decide that they want to do stuff. People have to understand that when you are making noise, you're really disturbing that person from getting that good quality sleep, whatever it is. It might be bothering them. So you have to know what you have to look at the quality of the sleep. And so again, there's just so many things. And with sleep deprivation, if your child is having sleep deprivation, it is definitely going to affect behavior. Okay, whether they're a toddler or they're a teenager, and even as adults, right? If we have poor quality sleep as moms, you know, when we had newborns, imagine waking up all the time, and we had to wake up, and we had to do everything we had to do during the day, and how tired we were. But now imagine the kids, if they themselves are going through these disturbances or whatever the problems are, whether it's because they are afraid, or they're hot, or they're having sleep apnea because of their adenoids, or whatever, if there's a noise outside that they can't sleep, or an older sibling is making noise, whatever it is, that is causing them not to have good quality sleep. And it is going to affect their cognition, okay, during the day, and their behavior during the day. And that's just a fact. I mean, there's just so much evidence-based research out there that really talk about this. having, quality sleep and how it's going to affect the cognition and behavior. So, is there anything else that really, I don't want to go into too much of the anatomy of it and about adults and things like that, but one of the things is cognition. We talked about with sleep deprivation, behavior, and then the other thing is medical, right? So medically, if you're not having good quality sleep, it is definitely going to affect medically. So adults, okay, and children too, obesity, okay, because when you don't have good sleep, your metabolism slows down. Whether you have sleep apnea, whether you have any of the other things going on, it reduces your metabolism in your body. Okay, remember I talked about the hypothalamus too, that regulates the metabolism as well. So that is also going to be affected. And so medically, it is going to cause a lot of issues. High blood pressure, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. In adults, a lot of times we even say like the A1C, the C-reactive protein gets increased. A lot of people, you see adults, if they have diabetes and they have sleep deprivation or have sleep apnea, we've noticed that their sugar level goes up in the morning too. And so because the oxygen saturations are lower because of the apnea, then these things are affected. So sleep is a root cause of so many different things. And depression is another one. So psychologically, of course, we said like cognition and behavior, but depression is another thing. You don't get good quality sleep, it does trigger a lot of things in your body and as well as mentally. So depression is another thing. And as teenagers, I've seen and adults that when they're not getting sleep, a lot of times they use other sleep aids to help them sleep, and then they get into some worse bad habits as adults. So that's another kind of a big subject that we can actually go into some other time later on. But as adults, I think understanding sleep and having good sleep is just as important.